The turkey was still warm on the table when I realized my son had already replaced me. I had been up since. Hands shaking slightly as I rubbed butter under the skin, just the way he liked it. Crispy, Mom. He used to say as a boy, standing on a chair beside me, stealing little pieces before dinner. That memory stayed with me all morning, keeping me company in a house that felt quieter every year. I cooked everything alone: turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce from scratch, even the pumpkin pie with the cracked crust he always laughed about. The kind of meal you don't rush. The kind of meal you make when you believe people are still coming. He told me he'd arrive by afternoon. He said he might be late. Mom, my daughter-in-law had texted. Flight delays. You know how it is. I knew how it was. Still, I set the table for 4. I even placed his favorite seat, the one at the head, across from me. I don't know why I always did that. Maybe some habits are harder to bury than people. By 4 p.m., the food was ready. By 5 p.m., it was cooling. By 6 p.m., I stopped checking my phone. At 6:42 p.m., I finally got a message. Not from him. From someone else. It was a photo. Sent by mistake, I think. A woman I barely knew. His coworker, if I remembered correctly. The kind of person who shows up in family photos before you even realize they've been invited. The picture showed my son sitting in a wide, leather seat, smiling at the camera. A glass of champagne in his hand. A blanket folded neatly over his lap. First class. I stared at the image longer than I should have. Then I read the caption. Best Thanksgiving upgrade ever. My hands went cold. I checked the timestamp. Taken hours ago. He wasn't delayed. He wasn't coming. He had left the country. And he had taken someone else, with my seat, my time, my dinner, without even telling me. I sat down slowly at the table I had prepared. 4 plates. 4 sets of cutlery. 4 empty chairs. I don't remember crying. I just remember the silence. Heavy, suffocating silence that filled every corner of that house. The kind that forces you to hear every small truth you've been avoiding. I had been replaced long before that flight. That night, I packed the food into containers. Not angrily, not dramatically. Just methodically. Turkey in one, stuffing in another, pie wrapped carefully. The next morning, I drove downtown and gave it all away. People thanked me, smiled at me, called me kind. I nodded, but kindness wasn't what I felt. Clarity was. For years, I had been the one adjusting, waiting, forgiving, making excuses for late calls, missed birthdays, short visits, telling myself he was busy, successful, important, and maybe he was, just not to me. So I stopped, not loudly, not with a speech, just quietly, the way people stop watering a plant that's already dead. I canceled the joint account I had kept, just in case. I removed his name from the house documents. I changed my will, not out of anger but accuracy. Then I booked a trip, first class. I chose the seat carefully, window side, the same one from the photo. The day of my flight, I wore something nice. Not for anyone else. For me, I wanted to feel like I belonged where I was going. Because for the first time in years, I did. Midway through the flight, I took out my phone and opened our last conversation. His message still sat there. Sorry, Mom. Things got busy. We'll celebrate soon. No date, no call. No real intention. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a picture, my seat, my glass, my view above the clouds. Then I sent it. No caption. No explanation. Just the image. He replied almost immediately. Mom, where are you? I watched the typing bubble appear and disappear a few times after that. Then finally, you could have told me. I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. For years I had told him everything, and he had listened to none of it. I locked my phone and leaned back in my seat. The same seat he thought was his. The same seat I had earned, not by money, not by status, but by finally understanding something I should have learned a long time ago. Love doesn't beg for space, and it doesn't wait forever. When I landed, I didn't rush to turn my phone back on. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for him to come back. I had already moved. Leftovers were still in my fridge when he finally called me back. 3 days after my message. 3 days after my photo. I let the phone ring once, twice, then answered on the third. Mom. His voice sounded confused, almost offended. What was that supposed to mean? I leaned against the kitchen counter, staring at the containers I hadn't touched since Thanksgiving. What was what? The picture. The flight. Why didn't you tell me you were traveling? I let a small silence settle between us. Not heavy this time. Controlled. I thought we weren't telling each other things anymore. I said calmly. He exhaled sharply. That's not fair. Fair. That word used to break me. Now it just sounded empty. Isn't it? I asked. There was a pause. The kind where someone is deciding whether to argue or apologize, and chooses neither. I was going to tell you, he said finally. It just happened quickly. I looked at the fridge again, the turkey I had carved for him, the pie I had baked for him, the seed I had saved for him. Things always seem to happen quickly when it comes to me, I replied. He didn't answer that. Instead, he shifted. You know how work is. This was important. A big opportunity. I couldn't say no. I didn't ask you to say no, I said softly. I just thought I mattered enough for you to say something. Another silence. Longer this time. I could almost hear the discomfort on his end, like a chair scraping across a floor. You're overreacting, he said, a little too quickly. It was just one holiday. I closed my eyes for a second. Just one holiday. Just one missed call. Just one forgotten promise. All stacked together until they built a life where I existed on the edges. I said carefully, you're underestimating how many just ones it takes to lose someone. He didn't respond. And for once, I didn't rush to fill the gap. I used to hate silence. Now I understood it. Silence shows you exactly where you stand. Are you mad at me? He asked eventually. I thought about that. Really thought about it. The answer surprised even me. No, I said. I'm not mad. Then what is this? This is me adjusting. He sounded confused again. Adjusting to what? I said simply. That I've been holding on to something that hasn't been there for a long time. That's dramatic, Mom. Is it? I asked, my voice still steady. Tell me the last time you chose me without it being convenient. He opened his mouth. I could hear it in the small intake of breath, but nothing came out, because there wasn't an answer. I'm not asking you to feel guilty, I continued. You've built your life. You've made your priorities clear. That doesn't mean I don't care about you. I know you care, I said. Just not enough to show up. That one landed. I could feel it. Because for the first time, he didn't argue. I can come visit next month. He offered quickly. We can do Thanksgiving then. Or Christmas. Whatever you want. I smiled a little. There it was. The offer. Late, convenient, and just enough to ease his conscience. In the past, I would have said yes immediately. Rearranged everything. Cooked again. Waited again. Not this time. I won't be here, I said. I have plans. With who? He asked, a hint of something sharp creeping into his voice. I glanced around the house. For the first time, it didn't feel like a place waiting to be filled. It felt like mine. With myself, I said. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Frustrated now? So what, you're just cutting me off? No, I said gently. I'm just no longer building my life around someone who doesn't include me in theirs. That's harsh. It's honest. Another long pause. Then, quieter this time, you've changed. I let that sit between us. Because he was right. I had to, I said. Because of one mistake. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. No, I said. Because I finally stopped pretending it was just one. He didn't fight me anymore after that. Didn't try to fix it. Didn't promise anything new. And that told me everything I needed to know. We ended the call politely. Like strangers who used to know each other better. That night, I took the leftovers out of the fridge. Not to eat them. To throw them away. Not because they were spoiled. But because they were no longer needed. The next morning, I booked another flight. Not for a holiday. Not for anyone else. Just because I wanted to go. And when I sat in that first-class seat again, I didn't think about him. Not once. Because the real revenge wasn't the photo. It wasn't the silence. It wasn't even the distance. It was this. He finally noticed my absence. Only after I stopped saving him, showed up at my door 2 weeks later. Unannounced, uninvited, and just late enough to prove my point. I saw his car through the window before he knocked. For a second, my old instinct kicked in, the one that made me rush, fix my hair, check the house, make everything ready. I didn't move. The knock came anyway. Firm, familiar, expecting. I walked to the door slowly and opened it just enough to see his face. He looked uncomfortable. Not ashamed, just thrown off, like someone who had arrived at the wrong place. Mom, he said, forcing a smile. Surprise. I nodded once. You should have called. I wanted to. He replied quickly, but I thought it would be better to just come. Talk in person. Better for who, I wondered. Aloud, I said, I'm busy. He blinked, clearly not expecting that. Busy? Yes. He glanced past me, trying to peek into the house. With what? I opened the door a little wider, but not an invitation. Just enough for him to see. The dining table was clear. No decorations, no extra plates, no signs of waiting. I'm about to leave, I said. Leave? Where? I picked up my coat from the chair beside the door. Out. His confusion shifted into irritation. You're really gonna walk out right now? After I drove all this way. I held his gaze. For years that sentence would have hooked into me. Made me apologize. Made me rearrange everything. Not anymore. I used to do that, I said calmly. Drop everything because you showed up. That's different, he argued. I'm your son. And I'm your mother, I replied. That used to mean something too. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing slightly on the porch. Okay, fine. I messed up. Can we not turn this into something bigger than it is? I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Now we were standing on equal ground. No, I said simply. I'm done making things smaller just so they're easier for you to ignore. That hit harder than I expected. He stopped pacing. Looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Not as someone predictable, not as someone waiting, but as someone different. Since when do you talk like this? He asked. Since I stopped swallowing what I actually feel. A quiet stretched between us. Cars passed in the distance. A dog barked somewhere down the street. Life kept moving, just like it had all those times he didn't show up. I came here to fix things, he said finally. I tilted my head slightly. Did you? Wes, how? He opened his mouth, then hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. He didn't come with a plan. He came with a feeling. A sudden discomfort. A realization that something had shifted, and he didn't like not being in control of it. I'm here, aren't I? He said, like that should be enough. I nodded slowly. You are. And that doesn't count for anything? It would have, I said gently, if you hadn't only come after you felt me pulling away. His jaw tightened. So what, I'm supposed to read your mind now? No, I said. You were supposed to listen when I was speaking. Silence again. But this time, it didn't feel like something I had to survive. It felt like something I owned. I can do better, he said after a moment. Just, give me another chance. I looked at him carefully. Not as my son. Not as the little boy who used to stand on a chair beside me, stealing pieces of turkey. But as the man standing in front of me now. And I asked myself one simple question. If this were anyone else, would I accept this? The answer came quickly. No, I said. His face fell. No, not like this. Then how? He asked, frustration creeping back in. What do you want me to do? I took a breath. And for the first time, I didn't soften the truth. I want you to understand that access to my life isn't automatic anymore. He stared at me. You don't get to disappear and reappear whenever it's convenient. I continued. You don't get to treat me like something that will always be here, no matter what. I never said that, he muttered. You didn't have to. I said. You showed me. That landed. Deep. Because this time he didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He just stood there, quiet, processing something he had probably never been forced to face before. So what now? He asked, softer this time. I slipped my coat on and adjusted the sleeve. Now? I said. You go home? And you? He asked. I stepped past him, walking toward my car. I go live my life. He turned slightly, watching me. And where do I fit into that? I paused for just a second. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted him to feel it. That depends on what you do next, I said. Then I got into my car and closed the door. He didn't stop me. Didn't knock on the window. Didn't call out my name. He just stood there, alone on the porch of a house that no longer revolved around him. As I drove away, I checked the rearview mirror once. He was still there, smaller now, not because of distance, but because, for the first time in his life, he wasn't the center of week past before he tried again. This time, no excuses. Just a message. I understand. That was it. No long explanation. No promises. No, I'll do better. Just 2 words. I stared at them longer than I expected. Because for once, it didn't feel like he was trying to fix the moment. It felt like he was finally sitting in it. I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because I had learned something important. Real change doesn't need an immediate audience. Days turned into weeks. The silence between us wasn't sharp anymore. It was steady, not the kind that hurts, the kind that lets you breathe. I filled my time differently now. Mornings started slower. I stopped rushing through breakfast like I had somewhere urgent to be. I didn't check my phone first thing anymore, hoping for a message that might not come. I started going out more. Not far, just enough. Coffee shops, parks, small places where no one knew me as someone's mother. Just me. It felt unfamiliar at first, then it felt right. One afternoon, I found myself back in the kitchen, not out of obligation, not out of habit, but because I wanted to be there. Nothing extravagant. No full table. No 4 plates. Just one. I sat down and ate slowly. And for the first time in years, it didn't feel like something was missing. It felt complete. That evening, my phone buzzed again. Another message. I'd like to try again. Properly this time. I read it once, then again. There was no urgency in me, no rush to respond. Because now, his timing didn't control mine. I put the phone down and went about my evening. The next morning, I replied. What does properly look like to you? He didn't answer immediately. Hours passed. Then, finally, calling before I visit. Showing up when I say I will. Not disappearing when things get busy. Making time, even when it's inconvenient. I nodded to myself as I read. Not because I believed him completely. But because, for the first time, he understood what the problem actually was. I can start with lunch, he added. Your choice, your time. I looked at the message for a long moment. This was different. Not a grand gesture, not a last-minute appearance. A simple, clear offer with space for me to decide. I didn't say yes right away, I didn't say no either. I'll let you know, I replied. And I meant it. Because this time, I wasn't reacting, I was choosing. A few days later, I picked a place. A small cafe across town, quiet. Neutral. No memories attached. Saturday. 1 p.m. Don't be late. He replied almost instantly. I won't be. Saturday came. I arrived 10 minutes early. Not because I was waiting for him, but because I respect my own time now. I ordered a coffee. Sat by the window. Watched people pass by without attaching meaning to any of it. At exactly 12:58 p.m., he walked in. Not rushed, not distracted. On time. He saw me and hesitated for just a second. Like he wasn't sure if he still belonged at my table. That hesitation mattered more than any apology he could have made. It meant he finally understood something had changed. He approached slowly. Hey, he said. I replied. No hug, no forced warmth. Just honesty. He sat down across from me. Not at the head. Not taking up space that wasn't his. Just sitting. I'm here, he said quietly. I nodded. You are? We ordered. Simple things. Talked about simple topics at first. Weather work. Small, safe things. But underneath it, something else was happening. He was listening. Really listening. Not checking his phone. Not interrupting. Not waiting for his turn to speak. Just present. At one point, he paused and said, I didn't realize how much I'd been taking you for granted. I looked at him. You didn't want to realize? I said gently. He nodded. You're right. No defense. No excuse. Just acceptance. And that was new. We didn't fix everything that day. We didn't need to. Because this wasn't about going back. It was about starting differently. When the bill came, he reached for it. I stopped him. We'll split it, I said. He looked surprised. I can pay. I know, I replied. But this isn't that kind of relationship anymore. He understood. Slowly, but he did. We walked out together. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people learning how to exist in each other's lives again, without assumptions. Before we parted, he asked, Can I call you tomorrow? I considered it. Not automatically saying yes. Not automatically saying no yes. I said finally, You can call. He smiled a little. Not relieved, not triumphant, just grateful. As he walked away, I didn't watch him this time. I didn't need to. Because whether he stayed consistent or not, I wasn't going to lose myself again. That part was already settled. And maybe that was the real ending. Not revenge, not distance. But this, he didn't get his old place back. He got a new one. Smaller. Earned. And only there. Because I allowed month later, something small happened. And that's how I knew everything had really changed. He called when he said he willed. Not twice. Every time, no dramatic apologies. No long speeches about being better. Just consistency. Quiet, steady, almost unnoticeable. Unless you knew what it used to be like. One evening, he called while I was out walking. I just wanted to check in, he said. How was your day? I smiled a little, looking at the sunset instead of rushing to answer. It was good, I said. Peaceful. I'm glad, he replied. You sound different. I am, I said simply. He didn't question it. Didn't try to analyze it. Can I come by next weekend? He asked. I'll bring dinner. I paused, not because I was unsure, but because I was choosing. Yes, I said. And I'll be there at 6, he added quickly. Then be there at 6, I replied. Next weekend came. At exactly, I heard the knock. On time. I opened the door and there he was, holding a bag of food, looking slightly nervous. Not entitled, not certain. just respectful. "Hi, Mom," he said. I replied. He stepped inside, but slower this time. Like he understood this space wasn't something he could just walk into anymore. We sat down together. 2 plates, not 4, not pretending. Not recreating something that had already been broken. Just what was real. At one point, he looked around and said quietly, "I didn't realize how much you did until it wasn't there anymore." I met his eyes. "That's usually how it works," I said. He nodded. No argument. No discomfort. Just truth. And as we ate, talked, and let the evening pass without pressure, I noticed something unexpected. I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for him to change. Not for him to stay. Not for him to become who I needed. Because I had already become who I needed. And that changed everything. When he left that night, he didn't assume the next visit. Didn't make promises he wasn't sure he could keep. He just said, "I'll call you tomorrow." I nodded. Okay. And when I closed the door, I didn't feel empty. I didn't feel relieved either. I felt balanced. Because in the end, the real shift wasn't that he came back. It was that I stopped needing him to. And somehow, that's exactly what brought him to the door, on time, with respect, and finally understanding. There was no seat waiting for him anymore.